Hey Trailblazers! Ever feel like the world is changing at lightning speed? Well, it is. Think about this. Back in the middle of the 20th century, nearly 90% of the US population was white. Fast forward to today, and that number is down to around 58%, and it's expected to keep dropping. It's a picture of a country diversifying incredibly quickly. But here's the fascinating part. The change isn't happening everywhere at the same pace. Some states still look a lot like the America of 50 or 60 years ago. So, which states have seen the least demographic change? Today, we're counting down the top 10 whitest states in America. We're going to dive into the surprising data and the deep historical and cultural stories behind the numbers. Welcome to Mystic Trails. Before we get started, here's a little trivia for you. Which state on our list isn't just one of the whitest, but is also considered the most rural state in the entire nation? Stick around to the very end for the answer. Number 10, Idaho. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is the gem state, Idaho. With its vast wilderness and rugged mountains, Idaho's population sits at about 81.7% non-Hispanic white. And even though Idaho has one of the fastest-growing Hispanic populations in the country, its overall demographic makeup is still one of the most homogeneous in the West. So, what's the story? It really boils down to two things. First, like a lot of its neighbors in the Mountain West, Idaho was built by industries like mining, logging, and agriculture. These jobs tended to attract workers from other parts of the US, not big waves of foreign immigrants. The second, and perhaps more important factor, is the influence of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. After settling Utah, Mormon pioneers pushed north into Idaho, building these super tight-knit communities around farming and faith. These settlements laid a strong, culturally cohesive foundation that you can still see today. While cities like Boise are definitely growing and diversifying, the state's rural roots keep it firmly on our list. Number 9, Kentucky. Now this one might surprise you. Sliding in at a tie for the 8th spot is the bluegrass state, Kentucky. Based on the latest data, Kentucky's population is about 82.5% non-Hispanic white. While its bigger cities like Louisville and Lexington are becoming much more diverse, a lot of Kentucky, especially in the eastern Appalachian areas, is still shaped by its very first settlers. The state's story goes way back to the late 18th century, when a huge wave of Scots, Irish, English, and German settlers came pouring through the Cumberland Gap. They were looking for land and set up these small, independent farming communities. This first wave created a cultural and demographic base that has stayed incredibly stable for over 2 centuries in the state's rural corners. The economy, which for so long was all about tobacco, horses, and coal, just didn't pull in the large-scale international immigration that the big industrial northern states did. Number 8. North Dakota sharing that number 8 position is North Dakota, way up on the Great Plains. Here, the non-Hispanic white population is also around 82.5%. North Dakota's famous wide-open spaces and seriously tough winters have had a huge impact on its demographic story. It was one of the very last frontiers settled in the U.S. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the Homestead Act offered free land, which attracted a very specific kind of immigrant, mainly Germans from Russia and Norwegians. These groups were known for being incredibly hardy, perfect for the tough job of prairie farming. They built strong, insulated communities where they kept their languages, religion, and traditions alive. Because the state's economy has always been about agriculture, and more recently oil, it completely skipped the industrial boom that brought so much diversity to other parts of the country. The result is a population with deep roots, tracing directly back to those tough European pioneers. Number 7. Iowa. At number 7, we find ourselves in another Midwestern heartland state, Iowa. With a population that's about 84.2% non-Hispanic white, Iowa's story is pretty similar to its northern neighbors. When you think of Iowa, you think of rolling hills and cornfields, and its identity is completely tied to farming and the people who came to work the land. Like North Dakota, Iowa was settled mainly by Northern Europeans. A huge group of German immigrants arrived, and today, they're the biggest ancestry group in the state. They were joined by folks from Ireland, Great Britain, and Scandinavia, all drawn by the promise of owning some of the most fertile farmland on the planet. They created a landscape of small towns and family farms, building communities around their churches and shared heritage. For most of its history, Iowa just didn't have many jobs outside of agriculture, so there wasn't a big pull for other groups to move in. While cities like Des Moines are getting more diverse, the state's rural foundation still defines it. Number 6. Wyoming. Entering the top half of our list is the cowboy state, Wyoming. Wyoming isn't just the least populated state in the country. It also has a non-Hispanic white population of about 84.3%. With its huge plains and iconic mountains like the Tetons, Wyoming is the American West in a nutshell. Its demographics were really shaped by geography and industry. The railroad brought people in, and so did jobs in coal mining, oil, and natural gas, along with classic cattle ranching. These industries mostly attracted American workers from other states instead of big international groups. On top of that, Wyoming's rugged and remote nature meant it was never a top destination for new immigrants coming to the U.S. The population stayed small and spread out, which fostered a culture of self-reliance that hasn't changed much over the decades. Number 5. Montana. For number 5, we're staying in the Mountain West with big sky country Montana. The non-Hispanic white population here is around 84.6%. Montana has a lot in common with Wyoming. A massive, rugged landscape, very few people, and an economy built on natural resources. The first big wave of settlement was sparked by the gold rush in the 1860s, drawing prospectors from all over the US and parts of Europe. After the gold fever died down, the economy shifted to copper mining, ranching, and farming, helped along by the new railway. Most of the settlers who came were of Western European descent, especially Irish, German, and English. While Montana has a significant Native American population, it just didn't see the large-scale immigration from other parts of the world that reshaped other states. Its remote location has kept its demographics pretty consistent over the years. Number 4. New Hampshire. Let's head all the way across the country to New England for our number 4 spot. The Granite State, New Hampshire, has a non-Hispanic white population of about 87.5%. Its famous motto, "Live free or die," is a perfect reflection of a demographic story that started way back in its colonial days. As one of the original 13 colonies, New Hampshire was first settled by English and Scots-Irish colonists back in the 1600s and 1700s. This created an ancestral foundation that has proven to be incredibly long-lasting. For centuries, the state's economy revolved around small farms, timber, and local manufacturing, which didn't pull in immigrant labor like the giant factories in nearby Massachusetts or New York. Later on, it did see some immigration from French Canadians, but it largely missed out on the major waves of immigration from Southern and Eastern Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Number 3, Vermont. Breaking into our top 3 is another New England gem, Vermont. The Green Mountain State's population is about 89.9% non-Hispanic white. A lot like its neighbor New Hampshire, Vermont's story is all about early colonial settlement and a deeply rural character. Vermont was settled in the mid-1700s, mostly by English colonists coming from the states next door, giving it a very homogeneous start. For its entire history, Vermont's economy has been about small-scale dairy farming, forestry, and specialty goods like maple syrup. It never built big industrial cities, so it was never a magnet for the immigrant groups that transformed the rest of the nation. For a long time, Vermont's population was actually shrinking as people left for jobs elsewhere. While it's now a popular place for tourists and people looking for a quieter lifestyle, the newcomers have mostly been demographically similar to the people already living there. All right, we are about to reveal the #1 spot, which is actually a tie. If you're finding this journey as interesting as we are, hit that like button and drop a comment below telling us which state on this list surprised you the most. And seriously, don't forget to subscribe to Mystic Trails. We've got more content just like this on the way. #1, West Virginia and Maine, a tie. And now for the top of our list. It's a dead heat. The #1 whitest states in America are the Mountain State, West Virginia, and the Pine Tree State, Maine. According to the most recent data, both states have a non-Hispanic white population standing right around a whopping 90%. West Virginia's identity is defined by its rugged Appalachian terrain and its coal mining history. The state was primarily shaped by early pioneers of English, German, and Scots-Irish descent who settled in isolated mountain valleys. These communities were often cut off from the rest of the world, creating a unique culture that's been preserved for generations. The coal boom did bring some European immigrants, but not on a massive scale. More importantly, the state's tough geography and the decline of the coal industry have led to population loss and very little new migration into the state for decades, keeping its demographic profile exceptionally stable. Maine's story is similar to its New England neighbors, but even more extreme. It was settled early by English colonists, and later joined by French Canadians who came to work in logging and textiles. However, Maine's geographic isolation and cold climate made it a tough place to make a living and a less appealing destination for the immigrant waves that followed. Its economy, built on fishing, shipbuilding, and logging, never created the kind of large-scale industrial jobs that fuel diversity. For years, Maine has also had one of the oldest populations in the country, a sign of low birth rates and not many people moving in. From the hills of Appalachia to the forests of New England, those are the top 10 whitest states in America. As we've seen, the story behind these percentages is a fascinating mix of history, geography, economics, and culture. The common threads are clear: patterns of early European settlement, economies based on rural industries, and a lack of major cities that act as magnets for immigration. And now to answer our trivia question from the beginning. The state on our list that's also the most rural in the nation is Maine. Its incredibly homogeneous population is directly connected to its rural character. What are your thoughts on our list? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mystic Trails. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next trail.